Everybody told me not to do it. Everybody told me this is not allowed, this can't happen. It was almost as if we were being challenged. Do you want to stop? Do you want to give up? Or do you really want to learn your lesson? We have a successful business. We're sitting in a very capitalist structure. I play the capitalist game 100%. And I can't break that system. But I'm in the system and I can bend the rules. So my personal goal now is to really prove that by giving a percentage of our revenues away, by having a foundation, by being a B Corp, by being social, by investing in the community, we will generate more money than what that costs us. So I turn up and I get given the biggest rucksack I've ever seen in my life. And in the rucksack were ice crampons, the thing. And I was like, ice crampons? Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of snow, he said. It was really, really tough. Every single step, we would break through the crust of ice that was on the snow and you would sink down 2 or 3 feet, I think every 5 steps, I fell over on the side, You can read the story if it went wrong, Like 2 guys go up the snow, it got dark, they walked past all these huts, they carried on. I mean, you can read the obituaries thing.
Welcome to the Awake Origins experience. During Awake Summit 2025, I sat down with unicorn entrepreneur Charlie MacGregor, founder and CEO of the Social Hub. We talked about getting stuck on a snow-covered mountain together, about the challenges and joy of the inner journey, and about what it means to bend the rules of the capitalist game while still building a conscious, profitable company. This is about purpose, finding your path, and the kind of leadership the world actually needs.
What I find difficult is the conflict between ego, then the sort of rational business sense, and then the spirit voice, So which voice is talking? We're at a moment when businesses need to step up.
About half a year ago, it was March of this year, I experienced one of the most intense things I've ever experienced in my life, together with Charlie. So I invited Charlie to the Picos de Europa, which is a mountain range close to where I live in Spain. And I knew there was going to be snow. And when we arrived at the mountains, I was a little bit like, oh fuck, it's a lot of snow here on the mountains. And our plan was to camp in the mountains for a few days. So we went up. At a certain point in time, we reached the snow, but the snow was fresh and it was this deep. And I think every 10 meters cost us like minutes to go through with a lot of weight on our back. The mountain was like this. And it was about to get dark not too long from them. And multiple times it was like, holy fuck, what are we doing? I'm not sure how you were in that moment, but so several times, okay, Charlie, we need to sit down, meditate. This is really good to do. Are we called to go up the mountain in the middle of nowhere? And every time it was like, and I think I can speak for you as well, there was some kind of a sign, like a small deer on the top of the mountain, no, you need to go there. Or the sunlight was piercing right through to that. And it felt very much like, no, you need to keep going. This is the intention. And we arrived at a little small hut over there in the middle of nowhere, like I think 70, 80 soccer fields big. Only snow, surrounded by mountains, no reception, no nothing. The April's probably thinking, what the fuck, guys? But we were thinking the same thing. Like, how can this be? So for several hours, like, whoa, what was this? And then we were stuck. It felt like we were stuck. There's nowhere to go. How do we get out of there? Can we get out of here? Do we have enough food for a couple of weeks even new? This was all going on in my mind. It ended up quite profound. We got back safely. But my question to you, Charlie, is, because I think there would not be many people who would be like, okay, no, we're going to pierce through. So the amount of guts that you have, or whatever it is for you that you are able to tap into to keep on moving. And I think this is also reflected in how you've been building the Social Hub, which has been game-changing. Where does it come from? Where does that courage come from?
Before I maybe enter that, what I love about stories is there's always different points of view. So walk in the park. What are you talking about? Come for a walk, he said. So I turn up and I get given the biggest rucksack I've ever seen in my life. And in the rucksack were ice crampons, like, the thing. And I was like, ice crampons? Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of snow, he said. Okay. So we go up and we did some really nice meditation, and it was really nice. It was a beautiful, nice walk. But, and then we saw the snow, and then we crossed this line, and indeed it got heavier and heavier. And it was so powerful, because the talk we'd been having was all about, of course, a journey, a business journey, a spiritual journey, a life journey, whatever it is. We're all on journey. So we're all here, so we all understand the idea of a journey. So we're on a journey together, So I think when those moments when we were trying to be sensible, of course. There's a little child in both of us who just want to keep going, and not really take the danger into account. But this was definitely on the edge. This was definitely one of those situations where you're like, okay, let's be sensible. And we tried to be sensible. So we had that question, and there was we passed huts we could have slept in quite easily and stuff. We were like, no, come on, let's keep going. And I think to answer your question, I don't think it's guts for me. For me, what I was on that journey, I was aware, really consciously aware that I was on a journey, and the journey is sometimes more important than the destination. And it was a tough journey. It was really, really tough. Every single step, we would break through the crust of ice that was on the snow, and you would sink down 2 or 3 feet, I think every 5 steps, I fell over on the side, and then you're like, it was really, but I really enjoyed that difficulty, that hardship, that challenge, because you learn something really, really profound when you get to the destination by being on the journey. So for me, it was almost as if we were being challenged. Do you want to stop? Do you want to give up? Or do you really want to learn your lesson and find something at the destination? So for me, it was kind of like, something would have had to happen before we stopped. And I guess what I realized when we walked down, it was beautiful. So we stayed there 2 nights. We did a day of stillness and some meditation and stuff like that, and breathing. And it was a very, very profound experience. And then we had to get back, of course. And we didn't know if we could get back, because the snow, if it was so soft, the way up was just too steep. We wouldn't have managed to get up that hill. But we decided to leave very early morning with the crampons on, of course, again. And it was frozen. It was completely frozen because it was so cold. So you didn't sink down. So it's actually really easy. We walked up really easily. We were like so relieved. But on the way down, I was walking past my own footsteps. It was so amazing to see. And there was something really beautiful about that you walked past the journey you had been on, the difficult journey that you'd been on, and you were able to run past it. I mean, we were flying down just to get back to the safety, but it was really, so for me, this was a very profound lesson of seeing also where you fell. You saw the imprint of the rucksack and your hands trying to push yourself up. So it was very beautiful to sort of see, wow, that journey that I pushed through, that I persevered through, was really something I learned from. And now I'm in a totally different state, walking past my past self almost. So it was so I really enjoyed it. As difficult as it was very, very, very profound.
Yeah, I agree. So what was there fear in your system when going up?
Not fear. It was trying to, I think, be conscious of the dangers. It was getting dark. You can read the story if it went wrong. There were like 2 guys go up the snow. It got dark. They walked past all these huts. They carried on. You can read the obituaries thing. So I was really conscious of, like, this is a situation that can go very easily wrong. You know, if one of us had a twisted ankle or something like that, we passed the point of safeness because we decided to carry on, and to get back if one of us had a broken ankle or whatever would have just been impossible. So that was very much in my head. At the same time, I'm a stubborn fucker, so I didn't want to give up either.
So how does this, so when we talk about you as being a purpose-driven entrepreneur, and this is how I feel about you, it's truly coming from the inside out, what you've been creating for a very long time already. So you think big, there's this big vision. It's very different from what is out there. You know there will be challenges ahead. How does it work for you there? When you have this all-in mentality, when the shit hits the fan, how do you keep trusting that you're on the right path? Because it has not always been easy.
No, but I think life is not easy. I mean, forget about whatever, you know, life is challenging. It's a journey, and every journey has its challenges. And I don't think, you know, this is not something it's nice and easy to say now with a business that's where we are, that this was a plan. This was not something I thought about, you know, this was something. So I guess when I began with student housing, and I was deeply frustrated that the student housing people treated students in a way that would stimulate the behavior that they were afraid of. So they thought that students would destroy a place, so they didn't put anything that people could destroy. You know, they institutionalized the flooring. The lino went up into the skirtings, and, you know, there was nothing breakable, and there were signs everywhere saying, don't do this, don't do that, you'll be fined. And so very negative, because students always destroyed the place. And I honestly thought students deserve better. The next generation deserves better. So it wasn't a master plan. It was something that's just like, wow, and then there was a part of logic side of it was like, hey, if you want to create a certain type of behavior, then use design to stimulate that behavior, and don't use a stick. Because, I mean, again, for myself, a stick doesn't work. I'll do it even more if there's a stick there, you know? So I need a carrot, and I need to believe in something. So I just wanted to translate that into my building. And when we had to be a hotel, when I started in Holland, I wanted to do only student housing, and I spent 4 years, managed to persuade a couple of people to help me buy some buildings, and I was going to do student housing. And it's impossible with the point system, the huurbeslag, the 20%. It's just impossible in Holland to build commercially viable student accommodation. And then I had a eureka moment with my lawyer, who said, hey, why don't you be a hotel? So there was a moment there which was like fantastic. And my first thought was, wow, I can invite the parents to come and drop off their kids, and they can stay for a couple of nights. So it wasn't, for me, it was the best marketing trick I could ever imagine, because student accommodation had such a bad reputation that if I dared to invite us into the same building as their kids, I mean, it wouldn't be shit. It has to be pretty good, you know? So I saw that was possible. And then just inviting more people. So there's been just more of again, it's not a vision. It's like also necessity. And that's what sometimes I love with necessity. You learn some beautiful things. We used to give a pizza party and a beer party to advertise to students, and we didn't have much money. So we'd use the same party to invite the banks and the gemeente and the planning officers and the wethouders and everybody else. And by seeing all these different ages party well together, you realize that that's what we like. We like all that. So it's not I'd love to say it was a part of a master plan, but it's not been like that. It's just following your intuition, or following the signs that are laid out in front of you, and embracing it.
If you look back now, what is the essence of what you've been creating? What is it all about?
There's maybe two things. One is really just bringing people together. I really believe that by bringing different groups of people together, we can create a better environment. And when I started the business and I started telling people we were going to have a hotel with hotel guests and students, everybody told me not to do it. Everybody told me, this is not allowed, this can't happen. If you go to our building in Amsterdam West, you'll see on the front door a sign that says, this is not an entrance, because the city made me build 2 entrances. They didn't make me use 2 entrances, but they made me build them. and then we just used the back door. But everybody thought 15 years ago, go to a campus today in the States, they'll tell you the same, that a corporate traveler, a male corporate traveler, would be attacking a young female student in the lobby of a hotel. It's too dangerous. Don't do it. And now, of course, when you walk into one of our hotels, you'll feel that it's totally normal as older generation get inspired by the younger generation, and the younger generation behave because there's that. It's just society. We balance out each other out. And the second part, which I'm now much more conscious about, is that we have a successful business. We're sitting in a very capitalist structure. I play the capitalist game 100%, and I can't break that system, but I'm in the system and I can bend the rules. So my personal goal now is to really prove that by giving a percentage of our revenues away, by having a foundation, by being a B Corp, by being social, by investing in the community, we will generate more money than what that costs us. So I really am driven to be able to show my investors, to be able to stand up on these business forums and say, look, we give, this money away, but look what we earn on the back of it. And really trying to inspire businesses to take much more responsibility in their local environments, in their regional environments, and prove that there's a business model behind it. Because if you can't prove that, you're not going to play the capitalist game.
So you want to show the world that things can be done in a different way.
Yeah, and they can make more money. So it's not either or, it's and.
Before you mentioned intuition, so right before we had this conversation, I double checked with you, hey Charlie, are you okay if you don't know what we're going to talk about? And you said, yes, of course. I like to be in the present moment. And you said some other things as well. How do you prepare? How do you know what you want to say? How does it work for you? How do you connect?
Yeah, I follow you blindly, as you saw on the hill. So. Yeah, I mean, I try to. I do a lot of work with some friends, Chrissy here, and we're learning about who are my guides in life, my spiritual guides and stuff like that. So whenever I try to do a thing like this, and just did it, I went to the toilet and I was like, oh, this is nice, a little candle here, and just connecting to myself and connecting to. In this case, it was my grandfather, because I was cold. I was totally underdressed, and I'm Scottish, so he was like, "Come on, you're Scottish, man up." So I could feel his sort of presence. So I was like, "Okay, hey, Granddad, come and help me say the right things and connect to myself and connect to you in the right way. So hopefully, I can provide whatever is needed to be for this moment."
And in the process of running a company, does it work in this very same way, or is it different?
What I find difficult is the conflict between ego, for sure, then the sort of rational business sense, and then the spirit voice. So which voice is talking? Which, and that's always a good question to ask yourself, and I find that quite difficult. And of course, we all know the inner voice, the true voice, but yeah, even why do I want to do things? Why do I want to do certain things within the business? So now I know I want to take the business in one direction, my investors want to take it in another direction. Who's right? How do I know that I'm not reacting because they're saying no, which triggers me for sure, or how do I know that, hey, my path is because I know that that's the right path to take? So I think that question is something that I'm very conscious about on life, but then sometimes there's other things which I just know are fundamentally, and they're the easy ones. They're the ones when your voice is really, really strong and you just know, that's. But the hard part I find is when it comes to stuff you have to really think about.
And how do you go into such a process to find out what is talking?
Yeah, I'd like to say the usual stuff, sort of being close to yourself, which is for sure true. But these things are taking so long that it makes it quite hard, because it's a long process. So you're asking yourself the whole time, every time, but for maybe 2 years, and you're like, wow, this is. So then Is it a sign that it's not happening? Is it a sign that it's just business? It takes a long time. It's a quite a big organization. My investors are pension funds, and they're very, very slow. So I also don't speak their language in the right way, and so I need to learn how to even have the right conversation without scaring the hell out of them. So it's so there's so I think I know. And I've asked a few friends and been told, hey, you don't need to ask this, you already know, so then you're like, well, which part do I know, so that, you especially your ego, and then it comes in and plays games with you and stuff like that, and you start doubting, and then you're back down to the start again. It's like snakes and ladders.
What have you been enjoying the most in creating the social hub? What has been most joyful in that whole journey?
The journey. I really love it. I mean, I've been looking for the exit in terms of a CEO, because I've been a CEO since I started, so 20 years or something. And I know that I want the business to be successful, and I want it to be sustainable. So it needs I keep saying a proper CEO, but then you come into COVID, and then the business is in an emergency, and so it's easier for me to do it. And then we come into the rebranding, and then think, okay, I want to get the rebranding done. So every time I'm like, okay, maybe there's something else I should be doing. And then at the same time, then the message comes in, yeah, but this is what you should be doing, bringing people together to help create a better society, so that's the why of our business as a brand. And so then I think, okay, fantastic, let's double down on this, and let's go. So there's I think I like it when people walk in the door, to be honest. And for those of you who've been in a social hub, it has a certain energy, especially during the student time. The students check in September, and they leave in July. But we still have a full hotel going on, and co-working and everything else. When the students leave, we turn into a full hotel. So we have then only like 600 rooms hotel instead of 200 rooms hotel. And the energy completely changes. There's something in the air that completely changes. That is, when the students are there, they're residents. And because they're residents, they interact with each other, they interact with the staff, they connect. And there's a feeling of community in the building. And when they leave, the hotel guests, we're on holiday, we're going into town, we don't want to meet friends with the receptionists. So there's a totally different atmosphere. And then the students come back again, and we get our building back. So I really like that part. And when people walk in, they can feel this energy, and they normally it stops them in their tracks. I mean, you can stand in there and watch reception. People come in with their bags, and they stop and wow, there's something going on. And that really, I get a lot of excitement with that. And I think that the other part I love is the privilege of watching what happens to our kids when we drop them off. And there's two sides to that. So anyone who's got kids here, they go through school, and then they go to university or not. And there's one day you drop them off at a place like us. And that means they're not living at home anymore. So it's a big moment for them. So we have old kids coming into our building, and we see what happens when you leave. We see that that whole process of making friends, making the wrong friends, falling down, going out, getting drunk, whatever, falling off their bike, all the stuff that they do. We see from September to December, people start complaining, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, kitchen buddies are wrong, blah, blah, blah. It's because they miss mom and dad, and they want to go home. And then they go home for Christmas, and they go and tell you how amazing they've done. Everybody asks them, granddad and whatever, they ask them what they've been doing, tell their friends, and they come back. And they come back as young adults. There's a big shift during that Christmas break. And it's changed their lives, and it changes their parents' life. But when I started, I was much closer to the students. I used to go out with the students and hear all their stories or whatever. And then, of course, at some point you become invisible to that generation because you're too old. And then I started connecting with the parents. And that's an amazing process to be part of as well, because so many parents are speaking, yeah, we just dropped off our daughter and we dropped off our son 2 years ago, and we're now going home to an empty home, and we don't know what we're going to do, or they've got all great plans, going on cruises and stuff like that. So it's really interesting hearing both sides of that coin, and being a part of that is a real blessing.
And what I find is beautiful about the social hub, I think I've been in 5 or 6 now. It's going beyond the students and the hotel guests. It's like you also involve the neighborhood with neighborhood dinners, etc., etc. It's like a little microcosmos of how you can live together. When you look at a social hub, what are the learnings when this will be a blueprint for society? How can we live in a different way?
Blueprint for society. That's a big one. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're that. I hope that we are an example for other businesses, if I keep it at that. Looking back through history, of course, cities were built through slave labor or very cheap labor, so there was if you had money, you could build whole buildings very, very affordably. You can't do that now. Labor is very expensive. It's all the same for everyone, for governments or for everybody. It's just very expensive. So for me, we're at a moment when businesses need to step up and they need to start helping and playing a role to their neighborhood where they are, open your door to the locals. And it can be so simple as an office, just allowing people to come in for a coffee. It doesn't need to be any more complex than that, but just reaching out to the neighborhood and connecting with them as a good neighbor. There's I think we do that when we move house. When you move house, you'll go and knock on the door of the neighborhood neighbors and say, hi, we just moved in and stuff like that. And that same principle, I think businesses should be doing much more. And that's what we try to do. And it's not, again, it's not something that's done by design. It's just having an open door policy. And when somebody walks in, you welcome them, and being a host and being hospitable. And we, again, see very good business reasons why that makes total sense. And I think when we changed the name to the social hub, we were aware that we need to educate what is the social hub, but we did it for 2 reasons. We want to be social in terms of we want to say hello to each other and help the next generation say hello, because they're kind of afraid at the moment of all this stuff, and be socially responsible. And we want to be a hub for the local neighborhood. And we experience that's been taken out of our society. The bakers, the post office, the library, the bank, all of those facilities are gone. And people are looking for a place to be able to walk in and connect and just be. That's what we're trying to be.
So when we look from this business perspective, when it comes to your vision and what you believe in, how do you communicate that with your employees?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we used to have, we just had last week 2 days leadership summit in Den Haag, in the social hub in Den Haag. So 90 people from all the hotel operations and upwards. And we used to do it with much more traditional presentations almost, like one hotel would come up and tell people what they've been learning, best tips and tricks and practices and stuff like that. And I guess since we're all friends, for me, I was lost last year. I was like, what is the social hub? As a student hotel, I really knew what the purpose was, giving students better, and the social hub, bringing people together. I was like, well, that's quite lofty. Yeah, I see why it works, and it works, but what does that mean in terms of design and design of product, but also design of steering the business? And I visualized myself, I was going round a roundabout, couldn't quite get off this roundabout. I was like, what the fuck, what's going on? And then I met a guy who's now our creative director, an outboard engine, he likes to describe himself, still a freelancer. But he literally kind of slapped me across the face, proverbially, not literally, like, luckily. But it stopped me going round my roundabout. And he said, well, just be social, dude. And so on Monday, we didn't have one presentation. We didn't have one poster on the wall. Every single thing we did was sitting in groups of people, talking. We've brought in a company called soul.com to help us train the vision and train the DNA. And by training, it's sharing the vision and understanding that there's 50, 60 of us here, that having alignment on the vision is not repeating the same words. It's understanding in your own way what that is and being able to translate in your own way what it is to your team. So we're doing it totally different, and we're trying to do everything now socially. So we want to sell socially, like face-to-face, old school, you know. So we want to try and reduce all of our digital things and just be social. By being social, then of course the DNA trickles right down to everybody. And one of our core customers is a student, and our next generation are super scared of being really face-to-face, old school, human-to-human social. So, and those are the people we really want to help the most.
It's been amazing when I'm in one of your hotels that when I arrived, there's a handwritten card, full, not just one line, it's a whole story to welcome me as a normal guest. That's normal human social thing. We forgot about it.
Yeah, but also saying hello, and it's, you know, we've as a company, we have a never-ending supply of the next generation coming in our doors every single year. So it's quite a unique position to be in as a brand, as an organization, you know, boom, 21-year-olds every single year coming in as our customers. So we're able to see, you know, 15 years ago, they wanted an LED light. That was it. And they wanted recycling bins. Now they're scared. They're really afraid of making friends, how to integrate, how to be successful, how to be cool, how to be liked. They can't cook for shit. I mean, really, they just cannot cook. I look at my kids as well. I got a 17-year-old, you know, I can teach them how to make eggs and stuff, but the lessons that I got from my mother are totally different from what they're getting today. And there's a real fear of being in a new community, and there's so much polarization going on that they're afraid if they say the wrong thing, then they're going to be just put in a box. And it's, you see the effects of social media into the community. And that gives us a great opportunity to help by having fun and just saying hello to people and trying to, you know, break that lift moment, the awkwardness in a lift or whatever, you know, how can we have some fun there and teaching the next generation to embrace those awkward silences and feel comfortable there.
When you look at the future, and before we talked about to be of service to others from a place of love, when you look into your own future as an entrepreneur, as a creator, are you still dreaming big? What is it you want to bring into the world? Are you done? In the long run, what do you feel with that?
So yeah, again, it ties into a little bit, okay, what's your ego there saying? What do you want to have and stuff like that? And I find it a bit contradictory because people, you know, we have an expansion plan. The business is still not stable. You know, we need to stabilize as a business. It's got a high economies of scale is necessary in our business. So we still need to grow a little bit before it's really genuinely in a stable long-term space to be able to look after itself. So that's definitely sort of the business rationale. There's a part that I get super excited about because we're nearly there. So the social hub is not as a social hub yet. I think in a year's time, you'll start to see what a real social hub is. Next September, we're going to launch a form of membership where we give all the neighbors a free membership, and we've got all these nice activities. So then we start to really do we start to be a social hub. And then the end of 2027, all the 21 hotels are a social hub. And then, so I think I get really excited about that because the ones that we're experimenting and the ones we're starting to really turn up that dial, they're on fire. They're like, I get goosebumps when I walk in there. If you go to Glasgow, the Rome project, there's a new project in Florence. It's putting mixed juice on the map, and there's just no way that people can say this is a bad idea. So I get very, very motivated and very excited to really disrupt the planning system, disrupt the old way of using buildings, and show indeed this is a way to make a lot of money by being very, very social, genuinely connecting neighborhoods, inviting people in, spending time and effort on that community is a good way to spend your money and to earn your money. So I guess that's my real motivation. And then when I look at that, I think, yeah, okay, I want to do that lots of places to kind of help them see that this is a fun way to do stuff.
So keep expanding.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe America could do with a social hub. We're bringing people together and being able to talk about your differences and stuff like that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Ready to go deeper as an entrepreneurial leader? Check out Awake Origins.